Trump is trying to make a comeback. It's not working. U.S. files, 6 more classified documents seized at Biden home. Disgusted Trump West Wing official secretly worked with Biden's staff in the final days, author. If Biden isn't on the ticket, Harris's pick for vice president will be key to 2024. Trump rioter busted by massive stomach tattoo slapped with 78-month prison sentence.
This is breaking news.
I'm Aaron Burnett in Washington.
Trump is trying to make a comeback. It's not working. His campaign event this week was a dud, his legal woes are growing and his cronies are viciously infighting. Once again, the legal pitfalls and enthusiasm deficit that plagued Donald Trump's bid for the 2024 Republican nomination are on display. On Thursday, a federal judge imposed $938,000 in sanctions on Trump and his lawyers. Meanwhile, an appearance touted by Trump as a major campaign event was nothing more than a closed-door speech to deep-pocketed election deniers at a Trump property. For those looking for uplift from a Trump campaign, those days are over. Rather, personal grievance and claims of a stolen 2020 election will likely be his dominant themes. For the 45th president, that may bring catharsis. For everyone else in the Republican Party, that spells chaos, headache, and the possibility of another Trump defeat at the hands of Joe Biden and the Democrats. Mr. Trump is a prolific and sophisticated litigant who is repeatedly using the courts to seek revenge on political adversaries, the court thundered in its ruling. He is the mastermind of strategic abuse of the judicial process. Judge Donald Middlebrooks shredded Trump and his lawyers for bringing a failed and frivolous racketeering lawsuit against Hillary Clinton, her political allies, and a passel of ex-government officials. In the judge's eyes, the lawsuit was little else than a repackaged Trump campaign stump speech. A day later, Trump dropped a separate lawsuit filed against Letitia James, New York's Attorney General. That case too was pending before Middlebrooks, who similarly viewed that matter as vexatious and frivolous. The threat of sanctions hung in the air. As for the Trump speech the public never heard, it now is another self-inflicted nothing-burger, up there with his much-touted Trump NFT superhero trading cards, a waste of time and attention, a lost opportunity. Earlier in the day, Trump had vowed to deliver a major political announcement later that night. He also promised to resume his signature rallies. Instead, he spoke behind closed doors at Trump Doral, his resort in Miami, to Judicial Watch, a tax-exempt group ostensibly dedicated to promoting integrity, transparency, and accountability in government and fidelity to the rule of law. That is the line Judicial Watch feeds the IRS. Reality is different. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch's president, pushed Trump to declare victory early on election night 2020 and stop counting ballots. Fitton also argued that White House records were Trump's to keep. Rule of law? Not so much, actually. To be sure, Trump still leads the pack of prospective Republican presidential nominees. No other Republican contender possesses the same rapport with the party's white working-class base. No one else is owed so much by Kevin McCarthy, the beleaguered Speaker of the House. By the numbers, Trump retains a double-digit advantage over Ron DeSantis, Florida's spite-filled but mirthless governor. So far, the 45th president's mounting legal woes, listless campaign, and friction with the evangelical leadership have not displaced him from his perch. U.S. files, 6 more classified documents seized at Biden home. Some documents seized at the Wilmington property on Friday were from his time as a senator and others from his tenure as vice president under Barack Obama. Lawyer Bob Bauer said personally handwritten notes and surrounding materials were also taken away. Mr. Biden and his wife were not present. The president offered access to his home to allow DOJ to conduct a search of the entire premises for potential vice presidential records and potential classified material, Mr. Bauer said in a statement on Saturday. Former President Donald Trump is facing a criminal investigation for allegedly mishandling classified files. Earlier this month, Mr. Biden's lawyers said a first batch of classified documents had been found on November 2 at the Penn Biden Center, a think tank the president founded in Washington, D.C. A second batch of records was found on December 20 in the garage at his Wilmington home, while another document was found in a storage space at the house on January 12, his lawyers said. After finding the documents, the president said his team immediately turned them over to the National Archives and the Justice Department. It is not clear why Mr. Biden had kept them. Under the Presidential Records Act, White House records are supposed to go to the National Archives once an administration ends, where they can be stored securely. A special counsel, Robert Hur, has been appointed to lead the investigation into how the sensitive documents were handled. The lengthy search and subsequent discovery of more documents is a political headache for the president, as he prepares to declare whether he will run for a second term in 2024. Mr. Biden and his wife, Jill, are spending the weekend in the coastal town of Rehoboth Beach in Delaware, where they own another house. It was searched earlier this month and no documents were found, his lawyers said, according to the New York Times. The 2-month gap between the first Biden discovery days before the midterm elections and the news being made public in January raises awkward questions for the president about transparency, BBC North America correspondent Anthony Zurcher says. Mr. Biden's team insists the president has cooperated fully with the DOJ inquiry. Mr. Biden has played down the affair as an oversight, saying he has no regrets about not publicly disclosing the discovery of some classified files before the November midterm elections. The discovery comes as former U.S. President Donald Trump also faces a probe over his alleged mishandling of hundreds of classified documents at his Florida Mar-a-Lago residence and his alleged failure to comply with a subpoena. Mr. Trump and his lawyers resisted handing over the documents until the FBI raided his Florida holiday home last August. He alleges that President Biden is being treated more favorably by the FBI. President Biden said at the time that Mr. Trump's handling of the documents was totally irresponsible. Mr. Trump has not given any reason to explain their presence there, but has said he had the power as president to declassify them, a claim challenged by legal experts. Disgusted Trump West Wing official secretly worked with Biden's staff in the final days, author. During the final days that Trump sat in the Oval Office after the January 6 insurrection, one key official in the West Wing was secretly working through an intermediary to keep President-elect Joe Biden's people apprised about the doings at the White House. That is according to journalist Chris Whipple as detailed in his new book, The Fight of His Life Inside Joe Biden's White House. Appearing on MSNBC's The Alex Witt Show, Whipple told the host that an obscure Trump official was disgusted by what was going on and did all they could to help Biden's team as they prepared to assume control of the government. You know, Alex, I have spent almost 2 years talking to most of Joe Biden's inner circle, that includes Ted Kaufman. He was the head of that incredibly fraught transition, Whipple recalled. They were prepared for almost any eventuality. They stopped counting at 70. The most extreme was the very real possibility that Trump would declare martial law and send troops into the streets. It is a real untold story of how it really came down to one obscure deputy White House chief of staff in the West Wing, he elaborated. Working for Trump, who carried out this sub rosa operation under Donald Trump's nose and without his knowledge. He quietly kept the wheels of the transition turning, he continued. He communicated through intermediaries with the Biden camp. He was about to resign several times. He was fed up with Trump's behavior. Friends of his would talk him off of the ledge. He stayed until the morning of January 20th, until 11:59 a.m., he continued. He helped to make that peaceful transfer of power take place. It's an unbelievable story that has not been told before.